Hello, and welcome to the MMA Mic Drop Podcast. My name is Jade Bunky, and I am joined by the one and only Milo McGregor, who was unable to join the podcast last week because he got into a little bit of trouble, but don't worry, he is going to explain himself shortly to all of you. But first, let me tell you what we're going to do today. First, we're going to talk about UFC 298. We're going to talk about what matches to make next. Then we're going to provide picks and predictions for every fight on the main card for Moreno versus Royval. And then finally, we'll go through our standard segments, which is Kicking It with Milo and Kook of the Week. So, Milo, what did you do? Why were you not able to podcast last week?
Because I had bad grades.
In what classes?
Math and Spanish.
Well, that is absolutely terrible. You need to step up your game. And to tell all the
I agree.
And to tell all of the viewers, because this is actually kind of funny. So here's what happened. Milo texted me right before about to go on saying, I can't podcast right now. And I said, well, here, I'll call your dad. So I call his dad, and then he texts me, he's all, no, it's my mom. And so I call Milo, and I'm like, dude, what happened? He's all, I got bad grades in math and Spanish. And I'm all, well, let me talk to your mom. No, you're not talking to my mom. And I'm like, dude, I can just call her. I can hang up on this call and just call her and talk to her. But sensing that Milo was a little freaked out, I decided not to call and decided to do that one solo. So I did not get Milo's insights on the last fight, on the last preview card. But yeah, and it is surprising because you are really smart, but you're definitely not responsible. So it is a little bit surprising to see you not do well in a couple classes, but then again, maybe.
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even know. The classes are hard. I don't even know how to speak Spanish.
Well, that's why you're taking a Spanish class. That's the whole point.
Good thing we have the Brandon Moreno card coming up.
There we go. I do the entire preview in Spanish.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So first off, let's talk about UFC 298. I was actually at the event. It was, it was an amazing event. And let me give a shout out to Alex Lopez. He was somebody I met, him and his buddy. They actually flew all the way from Spain just to watch Ilia Topuria. And it was really interesting. Topuria, he was booed, when he came into the arena. When he came into the arena. Not as bad as Ian Gary. There was a Spanish contingent there. There were other people that flew all the way from Spain to watch him fight, but the crowd was definitely in it for Volkanovski. You fast forward slightly after the finish, and the crowd was going crazy. And what this tells me is Topuria is going to be a superstar. Milo, watching from home, what were your thoughts?
I thought Volk was gonna win. I was pretty sure, and then I think after the first round, even though Volk won that round, I just saw Ilia kept getting closer to him, and closer until he caught him. So yeah, I was kind of regretting my decision.
Yeah, and what did your dad say? Let's give since we bag on your dad all the time, let's give him some props. What did he say?
Yeah, he called it before the fight even happened. He's next to me, and I was like, heck no, Volk's gonna win, and then he got knocked out. Yeah,
it was, and that environment in the arena was absolutely electrifying. It was so much fun, and we'll probably post a video of the crowd reaction about 10 minutes afterwards. I mean, people were buzzing in there for quite some time about Ilia Topuria. In terms of matches to make next, I want to see him fight Max Holloway, right? Max Holloway was in no man's land. And he was just, waiting for another shot at Volkanovski. He had to make himself undeniable, or he needed somebody else to win, and that happened. But he's matched up against Justin Gaethje right now at UFC 300, which is an incredible fight as well. But I still think win or lose, that's the next fight for Topuria. Milo, what do you think? What do you think should be next for Topuria?
Yeah, I think he should have one more fight in between fighting Volk. So I think Max or somebody else. I think Max, yeah. And then I think he should rematch Volk.
Yeah, and if Volk wants it, I think you have to give it to him. I mean, he has earned it. But I think, we're not doctors. We can't say how much time he needs off. I just don't know. And that's what a lot of people are saying. But I think from a fight promotion perspective, if he takes some time off, you might have a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit, hey, has he regained his old form, even though Volk is getting up there in age? I think it allows you to retell the story a little bit differently when those two match up again. If it's, say, if it happened in 4 more months, the narrative is going to be he's coming back too quickly. Whether that's true or not, that's going to be the narrative, right? So you do want things to settle a little bit. I definitely want to see him, get Max Holloway. There is Mosvar, who's undefeated, who's number 5 in the rankings. But I think that shot has to be Max Holloway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So next up, we had Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Robert Whittaker won. It was a really close fight. I mean, that head kick in the closing seconds of the first round, almost concluded the fight. I mean, that was insane.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
I think if that first round would have gone 5 more seconds, he would have been done.
Yeah,
he got lucky.
Yeah, it was crazy. And what were your general Milo? What were your general impressions of the overall fight?
I thought it was a really good fight, but I think I don't really know who I was kind of debating on who I should give it to. Just because of that kick, it made it close. So yeah.
Are you talking about the first round or the overall fight?
Overall.
So you're looking at overall damage, right? Just like
yeah,
and that's what
Whittaker was lit up. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it looked like if you just looked at the visual representation of the fight, meaning the fighters' faces afterwards, it looked like Paulo Costa got the best of them. But watching that fight, I thought it was a clear win for Robert Whittaker. It was close. Whittaker looked really fast. I think Paulo Costa delivered the heavier kicks for sure, particularly the one that really landed cleanly. And Costa looked good. I mean, he looked really good. He looked surprisingly good. He didn't really gas out, which I was wondering, because he's got that big frame and everything, and he was explosive, and he was able to get his kicks up there really quickly, which was surprising.
But yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. But Whittaker looked good with his hand speed. Really good footwork. I mean, it was a fun fight. So Milo, who would you match up a Whittaker with next?
Oh, maybe Sean Strickland.
And have they already fought or no? That actually is.
I don't think so.
That's a good fight.
I don't think so.
I like that a lot. So you'd go Sean Strickland. I'm thinking Chimaev.
I saw a leak. I saw a leak that Israel Adesanya is fighting Chimaev or something.
Really?
I heard that. It got leaked or something.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure.
At the other fight, that's we're waiting for the announcement on a UFC 300, and we're going to do a whole podcast on UFC 300, what that means between Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira, which is a really exciting matchup. But we'll give our thoughts about that and any rumors that we've heard in a subsequent show that will probably come out by the end of this week. But if we stick to this card, and if Chimaev is already off the shelf, then I think it's a no-brainer with Sean Strickland. Although Chimaev is the guy I'd like to see him fight next, because Chimaev needs a top-ranked guy, right? I mean, he's calling for a title shot, but he hasn't beat anybody in the middleweight division. I mean, he beat Usman, who came in off on short notice, who's an actual welterweight. We don't know if he's going to move up permanently. So we do need to see him get one more, at least one top 10 opponent. And if you beat Whittaker, and if you beat Adesanya, I mean, you're right there. Then it's an earned title shot. Next up, Ian Garry versus Jeff Neal. Ian Garry is the most hated UFC fighter in the world, and I think that's somewhat earned. I mean, a lot of hate is not earned. There's a lot of hate, that's on a variety of guys, whether it's Jeff Neal, whether it's Topuria, whether it's these guys, and I'm sorry, not Jeff Neal, Jamal Hill, and I don't think any of that's really too earned. But Ian Garry just can't shut up. And what's interesting, he won, and then afterwards people were still booing him, which was different from what happened with Topuria. So it shows you that people do not like Ian Garry. Milo, what were your thoughts of the fight or Ian Garry?
I thought it was kind of funny that even when they weren't wrestling or anything, and people were still booing the fight whenever they would stop going at it. That was pretty fun. I was actually super impressed.
Yeah,
with Ian Garry.
Me,
I did not expect that.
Go ahead. Yeah. Tell me more. What impressed you?
I mean, I didn't think he was gonna be that fast, and like I thought Jeff was just gonna dominate him, but yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah, and you know what? That was the thing that was most interesting to me. It was his speed. I was surprised he was much quicker than Jeff Neal. Now, Jeff Neal was a big step up for him. And if you beat Jeff Neal, you're good. You're a legit top 10 welterweight. And there's two things that really stood out for me. Actually, three things. One, his composure. Number two is his hand speed. And number three, the blending of kicks and punches. He would switch from a kick to a punch so quickly. And he looked really good. And, you know, after beating Daniel Rodriguez and Neil Magny, I mean, he dominated both of them, but they're older fighters. How would he do against, you know, a fighter in his athletic prime, you know, that's in the top 10? And he showed, you know, he was able to, you know, come away with the victory. So I would say what's next for him, I'd give him the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Gilbert Burns. You know, I mean, he's ready for a crack at the top 5. He's earned it. He's called out Colby Covington. I have no desire to watch Colby Covington fight. Either as the, you know, as the favorite or as the enemy. You know, I mean, there's always a narrative that, hey, if you can play the hill, you know, that's good storyline. That represents a good storyline. What happens when you got both guys are unliked? It's not really much of an interesting fight to watch, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And particularly that Colby Covington didn't really do anything in his last fight. So I actually don't want to see that. I have no interest in seeing that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Gilbert Burns would be a really good fight, but I feel like Ian's style would I think he'd kind of get destroyed. I mean, I think Gilbert would get destroyed just because like the way like he can keep his distance so well and
like. So you're saying Gilbert Burns JDM, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. I think I'm going to be going when we do our preview for that. I'm going to be going in the opposite direction. I think JDM is going to get the best of Burns. But yeah, that's a great matchup. And I think you think if it's Gilbert Burns though, you think Ian Garry will touch him up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know about JDM though.
Interesting. Okay, so before that, we had Merab versus Henry Cejudo. And here's the biggest takeaway, because not only was I at that event, I was at the some of the other events for the weekend. I was at the ceremonial weigh-in, and in the ceremonial weigh-in, Merab got the biggest pop. And when he came out, it was either him or Volkanovski during the night of the fight who had the loudest cheers. And what does this tell you? Merab is a superstar. And he has earned that right to fight for the belt next. You can make the argument that he should have been the person that should be up right now for the belt. But he took on Henry Cejudo, looked incredibly good, has that relentless cardio. And it's interesting where people, you know, talk about, well, maybe he doesn't have the most exciting fight style. He has an attribute that no one else has, and it's that relentless cardio. He has weaponized cardio to an extent that no one else has.
Yeah, it's like Khabib almost, where he just keeps going at you and just doesn't like stop. It's crazy.
Exactly. So, you know, it depends how you market and position that. You know, that can be interesting, although the fight style itself isn't the most spectacular. You know, if you're looking for somebody to be relentless, then therefore it all of a sudden becomes, wow, that's kind of interesting. You know what to look for. The other thing is Rob's personality is so freaking funny and so interesting. Love that guy, right? And I think what we saw is everything came together this weekend where, you know, he beat the former two-time two-division champ. He beat, you know, he's beat everybody. I think it's now 9-0 or 10-0 in his last 9 or 10 fights. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he's right there, and he's going to take on the winner of Cheeto versus O'Malley. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for sure he's getting the title shot next, no matter what. So, yeah,
that was exciting. And then the opener of 2000 of UFC 298. And this is the last fight we're going to provide a recap of. Then we're going to get into our predictions. The opener was Roman Kopylov versus Fluffy Hernandez. Milo, tell me, what were your thoughts?
I was so surprised in that fight. Did Rowan, did he come at a late notice?
No, Fluffy is good.
Yeah, I was surprised by how good he was. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, and Fluffy, I've always said, is one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC, and I picked him to win, but I also acknowledge that Kopylov could finish him, early if he connects the right way. But the crowd was there for Fluffy. It was a fun fight. It seems like he's finally getting the respect he deserves, and I think he's ready for a top 10 guy now. I would give him Roman Dolidze, possibly Jack Hermanson, one of those guys, but I think it's time for him to get into the top 10. What do you say, Milo?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I was just really surprised.
Yeah, so overall, a really fun weekend of fights. Really good fight card. But now let's give you some picks and predictions for Moreno versus Royval. So Milo, read out the stats of each fighter, please.
All right. Brandon the Assassin Baby Moreno. That's a pretty good name. He has 21 wins, 7 losses. He has 5 TKOs, 11 submissions, and 5 decisions. And then Brandon Royval has 4 TKOs, 9 submissions, and 2 decisions.
Yeah, and you know what? This is a rematch, but it's still a really fun matchup, right? So originally this was supposed to be Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi, but I still think this is solid. They fought before. Moreno won, but I believe Royval was injured in that fight. So it is a little bit interesting when you look at Moreno. So he's good everywhere. Has really good technical acumen on the feet. He's usually deploys pretty good strategy. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's really good on the ground as well. I mean, he is complete. We were able to witness that incredible quadrilogy between him and Figueiredo, which is the only. I usually don't like to see the same fighters fight 3 times, but I was excited to watch them fight 4 times. He's always fun. He always brings it. Royval is tricky. He's a really good athlete. He's really tricky with the subs. He finishes high-level fighters very quickly. But in this fight, particularly in Mexico City, which is going to be awesome to watch, Moreno get the love from the crowd. And people like him wherever he goes. He's such a likable guy. But I think this is going to be a Moreno showcase. Give me Moreno by decision. What do you think?
I'm going to go Royval by 4th round submission.
Wow. And now you like to call what type of submissions usually. What type of submission do you think he's going to get him in?
You get an armbar.
Armbar. Wow. All right. So there we have it. A little descent right away for the main event. All right. Talk to me about the co-main event.
For this, we have Yair Rodriguez. He has 19 wins, 4 losses, 8 TKOs, 5 submissions, and 6 decisions. And then we have Brian Ortega. He has 15 wins, 3 losses. He has 3 TKOs, 7 submissions, and 5 decisions.
Yeah, so now this is a rematch, and maybe I mixed up the previous fight where I said Royval lost via injury. I know Brian Ortega lost for injury, right? Via injury, is that correct?
I don't know.
I think that was the one. I think he was injured very early on in the fight. So let's look at Rodriguez. Rodriguez is the best striker in the division. He has extremely powerful kicks. He has good footwork. He's remarkably explosive. He's probably the most entertaining fighter to watch in the division. Maybe it's him or Max Holloway. It makes me also want to rethink what I just said. Is he the best striker with, Max Holloway, who is the best boxer, not only in that division, but in the UFC. But it's really his leg kicks. I think Rodriguez stands alone in that division with his kicks. Now you move over to Ortega. Ortega's the guy who will take some damage and will catch you at the most opportune time for himself. We saw him catch Volkanovski. Volkanovski just had this incredible toughness that he was able to, wiggle out of two submission attempts, actually. But I think, as the fight goes on, there will always be opportunities for Brian Ortega to get a sub. I just don't think that's going to happen here. I think Rodriguez is just going to piece him up on the feet. And I don't think Ortega is really even going to get a chance to lock in any submission. Give me Rodriguez by, third round TKO. What do you think?
I'm going to go Brian Ortega by third round submission. I think he's going to get pieced up the whole fight and then just catch him and then choke him out at like the last second or something.
And you know what? That can definitely happen. We have seen that before. So, all right, pretty good pick. All right, so next up.
Next up, we have Daniel Zellhuber. He has 14 wins, 1 loss, 7 TKOs, 3 submissions, and 4 decisions. And we have Francisco Prado. He has 12 wins, 1 loss, 6 TKOs, 6 submissions, and no decisions.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting fight among two really young prospects. I believe Zellhuber is 24, Prado is 21. Zellhuber, he came into the UFC with a little bit of hype. He was undefeated, but then he lost to Trey Ogden. And I was a little surprised about that because Trey's a little bit slower, a little bit older, even though he might be a bit of a crafty bet. I was a little surprised about that. He looked really good in a second fight in the UFC, and then he beat Christos Giagos, which is a really good win. Really good win there. And he did it via submission. So he might be a little bit better than I originally thought after his first loss. Then you move over to Prado. What is Prado all about? It's about power. This dude has, a pretty lethal game on the feet, but he's not as well-rounded. He doesn't have the length as Zellhuber, and I don't think he's as buttoned up with the striking in terms of his technical acumen as Zellhuber, but I think the power difference might play a role in this fight, and give me Prado by first round knockout. Milo, what do you say?
I'm going to say Francisco Prado by second round knockout.
Second round knockout. All right. Who's next?
We have Raul Rose Jr. He has 8 wins, 1 loss. He has 2 TKOs, 5 submissions, and 1 decision. And then we have Ricky Turcios. He has 12 wins, 3 losses, 3 TKOs, 1 submission, and 8 decisions.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good matchup. This is something that's competitively appropriate for Rojas. Rojas, he's the youngest fighter in the UFC at 18 years old. He is now 19 years old. He is still incredibly young. And what to think about him is that, he comes out usually very aggressive. He's hyper aggressive. He has good strength for the division for his age, which is actually pretty surprising. He's a good grappler. He has actually pretty decent all around game, and he's relentless. Although, we don't know what his cardio is going to be like, late into rounds. We saw in his first loss in the UFC, he did gas out a bit. Against his opponent, though, I think it's the best fighter he's ever fought in the UFC, but I don't think he's going to have much for Rojas. Give me Rojas by second round submission.
I agree. Second round submission.
All right. Who's opening?
We have Yasmin Jurgui. She has 10 wins and 1 loss. She has 7 TKOs, 0 submissions, and 3 decisions. And then we have Sam Hughes. She has 8 wins, 5 losses, 2 TKOs, 3 submissions, and 3 decisions.
Yeah, and you didn't do too bad on Yasmin's last name. I think it's Hugari. Hugari, if I'm saying that correctly. I might be butchering it as well, but I think this is a mismatch. I think Yasmin, is going to make that crowd in Mexico City very happy. She has better hand speed, better foot speed. She is way better on the feet than Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes lost to Demopoulos, which I don't think is a very high level grappler. Well, no, Demopoulos isn't bad at grappling, but I just don't think she's a very high level fighter. in that particular division. So that's a bit of a red flag about Hughes, what she can do to pull the upset. I know Garry is a huge favorite, but I think she is going to dominate. I think she's going to piece her up for all 3 rounds, giving Garry by decision. What do you think?
I'm going to go Garry by 3rd round TKO.
Awesome. There you have it for our picks. Now, don't go anywhere. We have 2 more sections. We have Kicking It with Milo and then Kook of the Week. All right, so Kicking It with Milo. For those of you who have watched the show for a while now, you know that Milo is one of the top up-and-coming surfers in the United States at only 16 years old. And Milo, did you have a recent contest this weekend, or is that big one coming up next weekend? I know you have contests all the time.
I had a contest last weekend.
How'd you do?
And I did horrible.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. I was pretty bummed.
Did you get knocked out of the first
round? What happens? Yes, I did.
Yikes. So you went from making
really bad.
So the previous contest, you went from making it from the finals to the quarterfinals in the contest after that to getting knocked out in the first round.
I know, pretty disappointing. I'm just downgrading right now.
Yeah. What contest was it? Was it one of because I know the one
it was a WSA. It wasn't one of like the crazy ones. So
yeah, so
it's pretty bad.
So so the bigger contest you because earlier this year you won the NSSA, a contest there, which is that, and then the Prime are probably the two top ones, right? The Prime you made it to the quarters. And
yeah, I know.
Yeah. So, well, it's kind of funny. So this is something else. Your dad was telling me before, you tend to do much better in the under 18 division than you do in the under 16 division. So maybe you just the occasion, and I don't know what happens. Just
it's just because there's less pressure on me to do good. So I just go out there and try to surf. I didn't really try that hard, and then end up doing better.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really interesting. All right. Well, better luck on the next contest, and that will bring us to our last segment, Kook of the Week. Milo, who is your Kook of the Week?
Ian Garry.
Ian Garry. I want to ask why. I think I know why, but go ahead.
Everybody knows why.
Yeah, he is just the.
He's always a Kook of the Week.
Yeah.
Him and my dad.
Or your dad, yeah. I mean that's always always they always go back and forth. So let me think. I actually had one. Oh yeah, okay. Now I remember. It is the video editor over at ESPN who is doing the Embedded series, which is a very good series, very well done. But so UFC 298 was in Anaheim. And so they take a caption of a harbor and they put Anaheim, California.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
First
it was
Newport.
The Newport one.
Yeah, it's Newport, first of all. Anaheim has no water. It's a landlocked city. It's not, I mean, technically, I guess if you're from somewhere else in the United States, it's close to the beach. Out here, it's not considered close to the beach. It's a good 25-minute, it's a good, to get to the beach from Anaheim, it's a good 30-minute drive. And and the other thing is they panned out to King's MMA and it said, Anaheim, California. That's Huntington Beach. Now, yes, everything is in Orange County. We're in the same county, but these areas are distinctively different with completely different cultures and so forth. So, hey, ESPN, let's get it accurate. Good production quality into the videos, but let's be a little more accurate there.
Exactly.
All right. So before we go, Milo, do you have a last word?
Drop the mic.
All right, we're out.